want to inspire you to be courageous. It takes courage to write a book because you make yourself vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. That's scary. So be courageous. And also I think it takes determination. Writers write by themselves. You're there writing away. You have to be determined. Push yourself through it. Keep going with it. And the third thing that I want to encourage you to do is to be willing to learn what you need to learn. Learn things that you need to do what you need to do. Only you can decide what that might be because you know yourself. But push yourself a little bit to expand a little bit. Learn something new every day that you can apply to your book. And then the third thing is confidence in yourself. Just, I hope you all have the confidence to go through and do it. But my idea of writing a book through this self-publishing workshop that Julie did. And she really helped me look through and focus on who I was writing for. I think there's two important things, which Bruce already mentioned, is know who you're writing for. Who are they? What do they want to know? And then I think the second thing you have to know is you have to know yourself. You have to know what your limits are and what you can do. I have other author friends who, they look at my use of social media and they go, oh, they start to panic and I should be more like Rebecca, I should be doing, but that's not them. Okay? They're better at doing something else. So know what your strengths are. Don't be afraid to push yourself a little bit in some direction. But if you're not into social media and it doesn't capture you, don't bother. Try something else. Stand on the street corner. Read your book on the bus to strangers, or whatever. Your product, your promotion, your place, and your price. So looking at your product, this is my product. This is it. Someone walks into a bookstore, this is what has to sell it. They're going to look at it. I noticed, my book looks great from the front. Okay, as long as bookstores are displaying it face out, it's great. But if it's displayed like this, which one can you read? Ooh. Make it easy for your editor. Learn a few things before you write. Learn some proper grammar and punctuation. Another thing is, your product is the design. The first time I walked into Monroe Books, hello, I'm Rebecca, I'm self-published authors, and I could just see his face, it just went like, oh no, what am I going to do? How am I going to tell her I don't want your book? But he looked at it, oh, okay, and a little bit of that fear disappeared from his face. And then he looked it over and, okay, yeah, we'll take some. So make sure that your book looks professional. It's subtle things that most people don't notice is the spacing and the use of white space and the type of font that is used. I mean, you're writers, maybe you don't even want to think about that, but if you don't, then hire a good designer who can make it look good. Because your product is what really is going to come down to making that final. The consumer will choose based on what they see. If it looks good to them, they'll buy it. Another thing you should do when you're thinking about how you want your book to look is go through bookstores. Look at where your genre is in the bookstore. What do they do? What's the trend? Books are very trendy. A book that's, say, 5 years old it can look dated. So see what's the trend now, what kind of colors and spacing and fonts. A little bit about promotion. I was told to create a buzz about your book before it comes out. I never did. I was too busy writing my book, laying it out and relaying it out, and going out and getting that one last photograph, and then getting my ISBN number and all those things. I didn't have time to create a buzz. But if you can, like I know there's a woman who wrote a book about the stairs of Portland or something like that. 6 months before her book came out, the newspaper had a big section in the paper about this book that was coming out. But you really have to be organized and forward-thinking and maybe have a little bit more support than I had to do it. And then it's fun to have a book launch. You're the center of attention, and you get to sell lots of books and talk about your book and talk about yourself. But be creative with it. A friend of mine, before she was my friend, I paid like $35 to go to her book launch. Or maybe it was even more than that. You know, she had it at the Prima Strata on the new one on Bridge Street. So you got a free glass of wine, and you got appies, and you got a copy of her book. And then she had a couple speakers there talking about, I don't know, writing or publishing or something. And it was a lovely evening, and she couldn't believe it that people paid, you know, $35, $40, whatever it was, $50 to come to her book launch. But it was a cool way to do it. I did eventually get some media coverage, but it helps if I'm sure you know someone who knows someone. In Victoria, where it's a small city, right? One of my Twitter friends, he's a real estate guy, and he was doing some work with Shaw. And he says, oh, you have to get Karen Eldersma to interview you for The Daily Show. You know? He said, so he arranged it. He gave her, well, I think I had sent her my book before, but they ignored me, you know. But he kind of made that connection, and she phones me up, and Shaw came and did a feature on my book. You might see it, it's on my website. And it, right away, Monroe, and then just before that happened, I sent I had my books in Monroe's, and I had it like in Russell's and some of the main places. I didn't have it in Boland's. So I sent them a letter, and I said, you know, on Tuesday, Shaw Cable is going to feature me on The Daily Show, and I already have my books in Monroe's, blah, 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 but I'd really like to make my book available to your customers or something like that. And this is what I charge for them, and I can deliver them at any time. They phoned me right up and said, we'll take, I don't know, 20 or something. So I quickly delivered 20 to them, and the little Shaw Daily thing came out, and then Monroe's is calling me, and the museum is calling me, and it makes a huge difference if you can get that kind of media buzz going, the mass media stuff. A City of Victoria woman who was organizing Jane's Walks, after she heard me on CBC Radio, called and said, oh, do you want to lead a Jane's Walk? Oh, I don't know, but I did. So I got, there was like 12 people, and we walked to certain of my benches, and I read from my book, and I sold some books, but it was just like that all helps to, it all links together coming out of what you can do for promoting yourself. So next on my list is social media, and I should talk a little bit about it. Twitter has been good, but a lot of it is about establishing relationships with the people that you learn to know on Twitter. So you can go to, it's just like it's a network, you go to a breakfast tweet up, so people who tweet get together for breakfast every Wednesday morning, and you meet each other in person, and you exchange business cards, and you talk to each other. This is what I use for when I go into a bookstore, or if I mail it to people. It has all my contact information. It tells, it has the back page copy, testimonial about the author, and then it has all the details like the title, the author, the ISBN number, the price, publication date, blah, blah. It has all that information there. So it's a good thing to have produced, if you can produce it yourself or get your designer to produce it. It's nice to be able to go into, you go to a bookstore and you go, here's my book, here's this.
Do you ever just send it via email or do you advise against
No,
that?
no, I do email. You should, I did a lot of research on all the different media outlets and if they'd like to have email or if they'd like to have personal phone calls.
Or do you
Well,
advise
for
against-
bookstores, if I'm going to a different town, which I don't tend to do, but I have done a little bit, like going up to, say, Nanaimo or Duncan, I would email them first with a PDF of this and say, I'm coming through, you know, I'll stop in, and if you're interested. I took this into the librarian and I said, like, I don't know your process here, how you do this, but I have this book that I think you might be interested in, or your clientele might be interested in. And so I gave them this, and she says, well, I don't know, we're at the end of the year and our budget is pretty low, and but she said, and she threw on the, you know, I'll send it in. So I thought, oh well, whatever. Like within a week. Oh, she said, you might not hear from them because they buy from Monroe's or Boland's. Within a week, Boland's calls me and said, we want to order 45 more books. And I go, well, I just delivered, there's a mistake, because I just delivered, you know, 30 on Monday or something. Oh, no, 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 she said, the library just bought 18.
Oh.
So I'm going, oh, okay, I'll be right over. So the library bought 18 books through Boland's. And it was kind of fun as a, you know, my ego loved looking on the library website, you know, and searching up my name, right? And to see, you know, like there was like, they ordered 18 books and there were like 50 holds on the first 18 copies. My book is so unique because it is Victoria. It has history in it. It's well, as Cindy pointed out to me, it's a snapshot of Victoria now. So historically, it's valuable because in 50 years, if someone still has a copy of this book, it'll be like us looking at old books now and going, wow, look how Victoria's changed. You know,